What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Today, I want to try to clarify something for you guys so you guys can kind of understand the nature of the European man, right? Compared to the nature of the black man, right? Now, I stress out that black people, African people, we are communal by default, all right? We look out for each other. We hold each other accountable. We interact with each other communally, right? But the thing is, we think that that is something that all humans inherently do culturally with their own respective communities, and that our community is just the way we do it, and everybody has their own community and they're united. And we always complain about how we're not united enough or how we're not communal enough, right? But in actuality, the reason why we complain about that is because of the gravity of community and how important community is to us as black people, is that the level of our community cooperation is not satisfactory enough for us, whether we believe it, whether we think of it consciously or subconsciously, right? We just naturally, by DNA, as Africans who've been on this planet and going through different situations for millions of years, we have developed a sense of community that's far more advanced than any group of people on this planet, right? Even though there are other melanated people who've been here, not obviously not as long, but long enough to have developed that level of community, right? We know Europeans are brand new humans to this planet, and we've seen they're immature, how immature they are when it comes to being the stewards when in charge, right? And the reason is they don't actually have community. The community we think that they have, they don't really have. I need you guys to understand, when they decide, Europeans, if you look at European history, understand, have you noticed that there's no megalithic structures in Europe? Have you noticed, we always talk about how they don't got no history, right? They do have a history, it's very short, but they have a history. But they don't have anything impressive, right? And when they come to the melanated world, they see all these impressive things. The blacker the melanation, the darker, the more African, closer it is to Africa, the more developed it is, right? Because we are the progenitors of civilization, right? In order to have a developed civilization, you have to have enough peace, right? So that you can have enough generations that have enough time, right? Enough food, enough idle time to learn the arts and the sciences and pass those things and teach those things completely to another generation, to where you have multiple different generations that's able to put together their information, technology, and know-how to build megalithic structures and high complex life, right? That's why in Africa, everywhere is high complex life and civilizations that Europeans spent 500 years stealing, destroying, and hiding, right? Because like I said, you don't find nothing in Europe. You don't find high society in Europe. Why? Because they spent so much time killing each other, raping each other, stealing from each other culturally as a group of people, and they've never had enough time to stop fighting to develop enough generations of people who could comfortably relax long enough to learn arts and sciences to where they can put that together as a community to build anything great. The only thing they've been able to do in their recent time as being in charge is create weapons of death and mass destruction, right? Because they kill each other. So when you always at war, you have to one-up each other all the time. That's why they're so good at creating weapons of mass destruction to kill each other. So once they decided, these Visigoths, these Vandals, these Saxons, these Vikings, right, who just rape, murder, and pillage each other, brother and sister, they rape, murder, and pillage each other. When they decided to turn their energies towards Africa and do it in unison, keep in mind, they didn't actually stop fighting each other. These people in their minds could actually continue to conduct their European wars while still coordinating to steal from us, while also fighting their European wars on our lands to steal, even though they're supposed to be working together. They never actually were unified, right? And so the European culture themselves, the average white man doesn't see the other white man as his brother, like the same way we see black people as our brothers and sisters. It is like, for instance, when you're walking around, every black man, when you're walking around, you see another black person, what do? You go like this, or you go like this. It's something we just do, right? right? We got our handshakes, we got our fist bumps, we got all of the things that we use to acknowledge each other, no matter where we are around the world. It doesn't matter. You could be a African American, and you could be going all the way to goddamn. You can be in Japan somewhere, and you're walking in Tokyo, and as soon as you see a black person, out of all the group of people, you will automatically be like, or you'll say, "What's up?" You will greet, acknowledge it. It's part of our. The community is so ingrained in us that we just do it automatically because it's part of us, right? But white people don't do that. They don't see that white people as their brothers. That's why they're always talking about individualism. They want to be able to peel off from anybody else who can make them look bad. They don't want to be connected to anybody else, so they don't have to take accountability, because accountability is not something that they do. Because if they had to take accountability for the things that they did, there'd be a lot of shit they would have to take accountable for. And I don't know how many humans can handle that type of, that's a lot of pressure, right? Because they do a lot of things, they get away with a lot of things, and they still getting away with a lot of things that are coming to light. And they have that right now, they're being forced to reckon with that because they spend so much time trying to hide all the shit in their walk-in closet. They're trying to hide the shit, but in this age of information, it's impossible. So now they gotta look in the mirror and deal with themselves, and that's what they're going through right now. And they have to come to a reckoning that their time is up. So now we have to deal with their time being up. We have to deal with their having to look in the mirror. We have to deal with them losing power, and now we have to deal with the consequences and the downfalls of that as they try to scorch earth to destroy everybody else while they're going down, right? Because that's what they're going to do, no doubt about it, right? History has proven that that's what they do, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna attach a video, because what I like about comedy, right, is that you have people who use comedy, and people who do that, they tell hard truths, and they have to cover it with something funny so that people can digest it. But usually comedics are the people who usually tell the truth to power, right? We give them the leeway to make jokes and to say things that's controversial, because usually what they're saying is usually true, but they have to deliver it in a way that's acceptable, right? That people can swallow, because the truth is hard. It's hard to really reflect on yourself and to be honest about your faults. Everybody struggles with that. And white people as a group are definitely struggling with that right now, right? So, but I want you to pay attention to what he says, because I've been preaching this, and I don't know if people think I'm just some sort of Afrocentrist who just want to say these things to make us feel better, you know, and I want to take a shot at Europeans. But the thing is, this is true. It's also true for a lot of Asians too. The whiter Asians, those Han Chinese, not to be confused with the rest of the Asians. But this is just something that certain group, they don't have community like we have community. They don't have a connection the way we have a connection, so they don't operate with that in mind. All right. So a white man is not really going to have another white man's back, you know, if he don't know him or he's not connected with him in some form of fashion. But anyway, don't let me say it. Let me let the comedian tell truth to power, so you can see I'm not just some black Pan-African, you know, just trying to take shots at white folks to make us feel better. Okay. But anyway, that's all I got to say for now, guys. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out. Check out the clip.
I saw a racial fight recently, which is terrible, but I watched it. How are you not gonna watch? You're gonna watch every fight, you know? Fights have that weird quality. Fights are kind of like jobs, and that, like, you don't really want one, but you're like, well, let's see where it goes, you know? Like, will you give it a kiss? No? All right, so yeah. Had to take a shot. So, I'm in Philadelphia, walking through the park in the middle of the day. Beautiful day in Philly, beautiful park. I'm walking through this park, and as I'm walking through it, I see a white guy, and he yells across the park to a black guy. He calls him a nerd. And when you hear that and you're in public, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna. That's your first thought. And then another black guy, I don't know if he lived in the bushes, but he popped out of the bushes. Like, if this is a bush right here, I just saw a black guy go, no. Not in my park, But it's like, no one else saw that guy. Only I was like, oh my God, I see that guy! Like that. And it became my own personal movie. I watched him line up like the honey badger. He was like, that one? All right. And he sprinted across the park and he tackled the white guy. So instinctively, I just went, get him! But it took me a second to realize I'm the only other white guy in the park. Yeah, so like 10 black people turned and I went, no! Him. Our him. And they were like, what? And I was like, I'm out, that's what. And then they killed that white guy. And for the record, I don't give a fuck if they did. You know why? There is no such thing as white guy loyalty, okay? I mean, there is, but those guys are obvious as they hold torches, but the rest of us... rest of us are not having that shit. And let me tell you something, man. I'm jealous of interracial loyalty, because I see it. You know, if you're white, you see it with other races. Asians, you see it with black people for sure. What I'm talking about, there could be a dangerous situation. Let's say it's a fight, and there's a black guy in that fight. And then another black guy that doesn't know him will go, I'm going to involve myself. Just on account of us being of the same race. At our core, we are brothers. I see that, I'm like, wow. Because when you're white and you're in that situation, you're like, that guy, I don't know that guy. Do whatever you want to him. I don't give a shit. Let you do something like that guy in the park and then look at me like, hey man, are you gonna help out? You should know something. You're about to get murdered, okay?